Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
This time, we're going to be looking at something that's pretty fundamental, I guess you could say, the connection between grammar and meaning. And we're going to be doing it using a really interesting conversation in Thai as our kind of like our guide for this. Don't worry, we'll be translating everything so you can follow along.
Yeah.
And have you ever felt like you're only catching the surface level of what someone is saying?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like there's a whole nother layer of meaning that you're just not quite grasping.
Yeah. I think it's fascinating how often we just take the structure of language for granted.
Right.
You know, we tend to focus so much on vocabulary when really it's the arrangement of those words, the grammar itself, that unlocks a deeper level of understanding.
Okay, let's dive into that a little bit.
Okay.
This conversation we're using today actually highlights this point beautifully with the Thai words for cat and meow.
Yeah, those words provide a perfect example of how even just a subtle shift can completely change the meaning. So in Thai, the word for cat is hathbound, meow, while meow is fef, okay? That single vowel change makes all the difference.
Wow, it's amazing how much impact one tiny little difference can have.
Yeah.
And it really highlights the power of those seemingly small grammatical details. Now, this principle isn't unique to Thai. It applies to all languages, including English.
Absolutely. Think about the classic example of let's eat grandma versus let's eat grandma.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a single comma changes the entire meaning.
Right. Could even have some dire consequences there.
For sure.
That's a great example, and it brings up a really important point. Grammar isn't just about following rules for the sake of being correct.
Right.
It's about understanding the nuances, the cultural context, the emotions woven into language.
It's like having a roadmap that guides us through the complexities of communication.
I like that.
And, you know, in this Thai conversation, they actually use a really interesting analogy. They compare understanding grammar to appreciating the deeper layers of a film.
That is interesting. I'm curious to hear more about that.
So imagine you're watching a movie.
Okay.
But you don't understand the grammar of filmmaking.
Like what specifically?
So things like cinematography, editing, symbolism.
Okay.
You might enjoy the story at a surface level, but you'd miss out on so much of the depth and the richness.
So it's like noticing how a director uses like a close-up shot to create intimacy.
Right.
Or a wide shot to convey a sense of isolation.
Exactly.
You start to see the intention behind each choice and how those choices contribute to the overall meaning.
Exactly. Understanding the grammar of film enhances our enjoyment because it allows us to fully appreciate the craft and the artistry involved.
Yeah.
And it's the same with language.
It makes me think about idioms and slang. You know, they often defy literal grammatical rules, but they carry so much cultural meaning.
Absolutely.
And add a whole other dimension to communication.
They're those nuances that truly enrich language and allow us to connect with each other on a deeper level. And actually, in this Thai conversation we're analyzing, they delve into some fascinating methods for deepening our understanding, not just of language, but of anything we want to learn.
Ooh, okay, I'm intrigued. What are these methods?
They identified 7 key approaches to learning. Reading, listening, writing, discussion, observation, experimentation, and reflection.
Those are all pretty familiar, but I'm guessing they've given them kind of a unique twist in this conversation.
What's interesting here is how they connect those methods to the idea of uncovering the grammar of any subject, not just language.
Okay.
And they explore how each method can help us see those underlying patterns and structures.
That's really thought-provoking.
Yeah.
I'm already trying to think about how I use those methods in my own life.
Right.
Which ones do you find yourself using the most?
You know, they all play a role, I think, but I find myself drawn to observation and reflection. Taking the time to really observe and then reflect on what I've seen, that's often when those aha moments happen for me.
I love those aha moments. They're like little bursts of insight that just illuminate everything around them.
Right.
Now, before we delve deeper into these 7 methods, there's another interesting aspect of this Thai conversation I wanted to highlight.
Oh, yeah. Their discussion about choosing a title.
Yes.
It was fascinating to hear them debate the nuances of language and how to best encapsulate their ideas in a concise and evocative way.
Finding the perfect title is an art in itself, isn't it? Like, you're trying to capture the essence of this entire universe of thought in just a few words.
Yeah.
What did they ultimately land on?
They chose Knocking on hell,
Which roughly translates to on grammar
hmm
and understanding the value of deep meaning.
Beautiful. It perfectly captures the essence of what we've been discussing so far. We've touched upon grammar as a puzzle, a roadmap, even a key to unlocking cultural understanding. And now we're about to delve into the exciting part, how this concept of grammar extends far beyond language itself.
Ooh, I'm ready to dive deeper.
So before the break, we were starting to explore how this concept of grammar can be found in areas beyond language.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe you've already thought of a few examples yourself.
Well, I know music immediately popped into my head. There's rhythm, harmony, melody,
Mm,
all these elements working together like a complex language.
exactly. And just as understanding grammatical nuances enriches our understanding of language, grasping the grammar of music allows us to appreciate it on a deeper level.
Yeah?
Imagine listening to a symphony.
Okay.
If you understand the interplay of those musical elements, you're not just hearing a series of sounds.
Right.
You're experiencing the composer's intentions, the emotional undercurrents, the
Mhm.
layers of meaning woven into the music.
It makes me think about how, like, a musician might use a sudden change in tempo or a shift from major to minor key
Right.
to evoke a specific emotion.
Yeah.
Those choices, guided by musical grammar, have the power to move us in profound ways.
Absolutely. And it's not just music that has its own grammar.
Right.
Think about the visual arts.
Okay.
There's composition, color theory, brush strokes, all these elements that artists use to communicate their vision.
It's like they're using a visual language.
Yeah.
And understanding the grammar of that language
Mhm.
allows us to decipher the message.
Right.
We can start to understand why a certain painting makes us feel a certain way,
Yeah.
or how the artist uses light and shadow to create depth and perspective.
Precisely. It's like being given a key to unlock a whole new level of understanding and appreciation.
Yeah.
And this concept of grammar can even be applied to something as seemingly abstract as human relationships.
Ooh, that's intriguing. I'm curious to hear how you see grammar at play in relationships.
Well, think about it. There are unspoken rules,
Okay.
patterns of communication, emotional cues that shape how we interact with each other.
hmm
Understanding those elements is like understanding the grammar of connection.
So things like active listening,
Yeah.
recognizing nonverbal cues, understanding someone's love language,
Exactly.
those are all part of the grammar of relationships.
Exactly. And when we start to grasp those underlying patterns, we can navigate our relationships with more empathy,
Yeah.
clarity, and effectiveness.
It's like being given a guidebook to understanding the complexities of human connection.
Right.
This is such a powerful framework.
It is.
It's like we're realizing that there are these hidden structures and patterns all around us, just waiting to be uncovered. It's almost overwhelming to think about all the different grammars out there.
It is a lot to take in, but remember those 7 methods of learning we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
They offer a fantastic starting point for exploring the grammar of any field.
You're right. Reading, listening, writing, discussion, observation, experimentation, and reflection. Those methods can be applied to any area we're curious about.
Right.
Like, let's take cooking as an example. How would you use those 7 methods to uncover the grammar of cooking?
Great example. Well, you could start by reading cookbooks,
Okay.
exploring culinary blogs, even studying recipes from different cultures
Yeah.
that would expose you to the basic vocabulary of cooking, ingredients, techniques, and styles.
It's like learning the building blocks of a new language.
Exactly.
And what about listening? I imagine that would involve more than just listening to someone read a recipe out loud.
Of course, listening could involve watching cooking shows, attending culinary workshops, or even just having a conversation with an experienced cook.
Right.
It's about absorbing knowledge from those who are fluent in the grammar of cooking.
And writing could involve taking detailed notes as you cook,
Yeah.
creating your own variations on recipes, or even starting a food blog to document your culinary journey.
You got it. And don't forget discussion.
Right.
Talking to other food enthusiasts, debating different cooking techniques, even having lively dinner conversations about food. These all contribute to a deeper understanding.
What about observation? I feel like that would be crucial in cooking.
Absolutely. Observation is about paying close attention to the details.
Okay.
How do ingredients react to heat? How do flavors blend together? How do textures change as you cook?
Yeah.
It's about training your senses to become more attuned to the nuances of the culinary world.
It's like learning to see the world through the eyes of a chef.
Right.
I can't forget about experimentation. That's always my favorite part.
Experimentation is where the real fun begins.
Yeah.
It's where you get to play with ingredients, test out new recipes, and even invent your own culinary creations.
It's like becoming a culinary scientist, testing hypotheses and pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the kitchen.
Exactly. And finally, there's reflection.
Right.
Taking the time to analyze your successes and failures in the kitchen, understanding what worked and what didn't and why.
It's that critical thinking element that takes us beyond simply following a recipe. It allows us to truly understand the principles behind good cooking.
Precisely. And the beauty of these 7 methods is that they can be applied to any field.
Yeah.
Any passion, any curiosity you have. They're tools for lifelong learning and growth, helping us uncover the grammar of anything that fascinates us.
This is so inspiring. It's like we've been given a master key that can unlock the hidden meaning in any area of life.
It is.
Before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, we want to leave you with a little challenge.
Okay.
Think of one field, one area of interest that you've always wanted to understand more deeply.
Yeah.
And in the final part, we'll help you start uncovering the grammar of that field.
It's time to become grammar detectives.
Yes. Stay tuned for the exciting conclusion of our deep dive. Okay, we're back, and I really hope you've had some time to think about that challenge.
Yeah.
Picking a field that you would love to understand more deeply. It's exciting, isn't it? So many worlds out there waiting to be explored.
It is. And remember, you don't have to be an expert to start this journey. Right.
Approaching a new field with a beginner's mind. That openness to learning is what really fuels discovery.
Exactly. So for our listeners who are ready to become grammar detectives, let's offer some practical tips.
The first step is simple. Identify your passion.
Okay.
What truly fascinates you? What mysteries are you just itching to unravel?
Yeah.
It could be anything. The intricacies of ancient philosophy,
Right.
the secrets of sourdough bread baking, the patterns of the stock market.
It's about finding that thing that makes you go, I need to know more about this.
Exactly. Once you've got that target in sight, it's time to immerse yourself in it, read books, watch documentaries, listen to podcasts, find online communities.
Become a knowledge sponge. Soak up everything you can about your chosen field.
And don't be afraid to go deep. Explore different perspectives. Challenge your assumptions. Ask lots of questions.
Right.
The more you learn, the more you realize how much more there is to discover.
It's like each answer opens up a dozen new questions.
But that's the beauty of it. The journey of learning never truly ends.
Exactly. Now, as you're learning, pay close attention to the underlying patterns, the recurring themes, the principles that seem to govern how things work in your chosen field. Those are the building blocks of the grammar you're seeking.
It's like you're piecing together a puzzle, one clue at a time.
Exactly. And here's a key tip. Don't be afraid to experiment.
Okay.
Apply what you're learning. Test your theories. See what happens. This is where things get really exciting.
It's where you move from understanding the theory to actually speaking the language, so to speak.
Precisely. And finally, make time for reflection. Think about what you've learned, how it connects to other things you know, and how you can apply it to your life.
Because knowledge without application is like a seed that never gets planted. It has the potential, but never really gets to flourish.
Well said. It's through reflection that we internalize what we've learned and make it our own. So we've gone from deciphering Thai words
to exploring the grammar of everything from music to relationships to cooking.
Oh, you know, it's pretty amazing.
What's incredible is that this concept applies to absolutely any field you can imagine.
Yeah, it's a truly universal key to unlocking deeper meaning in every aspect of life.
And that's what we hope you'll take away from this deep dive.
Yeah.
The world is brimming with hidden meaning, just waiting to be uncovered.
It is.
It's up to each of us to embrace our curiosity, explore our passions, and become grammar detectives in our own right.
So keep diving deep. The journey is just as important as the destination.
Absolutely.
Until next time, happy exploring.